to introduce Sergeant Jim Clawwitter and Detective Jamie Merrifield, and they're going to tell you all a little bit more about themselves and lead the discussion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you guys hear in the back? Because we have a microphone, but I'm pretty loud anyway. So I want to start out, I'm really glad to be here. This is something, I'm a runner in Missoula. Jim and I both dabble in, we're not experts in self-defense or running, but we dabble in both. And Jim dabbles a little more than I do. And so we're not going to come up here and show you anything that's a surefire method to save your life in every situation. We want to put some ideas in your head for some things you can do to improve your safety whenever you walk out the door, not just when you're running. I am a 15-year veteran of the Missoula Police Department. I'm currently assigned into the detective division, and I do mostly crimes that involve violence against women. And so I'll let Jim tell a little bit about himself.
A little bit about me is I've been on the police department for 21 years, so I'm pretty familiar with Missoula and things that happen here and where they happen. I've been a runner, not for very long, only a little over a year. Training for the marathon, so I'm running a little more than I did last year.
Well, and his appendix burst right in the middle of his training, so he had to take a little break, but he's back at it. So.
Go ahead.
Well, what I want to talk about, one of the things that's important whenever we do any kind of a talk on safety is we don't want to make anybody paranoid. And I think by nature of being a police officer, we're a little bit paranoid. We see the kind of the worst in everybody. If we can't see someone's hand, they probably have a gun. If they're checking us out too long, they're probably a sex offender. And so, but that's how our brains work because we see so much over the course of our career. And we have almost 40 years of experience between the two of us. And so, but what we want to do is make you aware. Missoula is, I think, a very safe place. And I think we're very lucky to live here and to have, you know, the community that we have and the group, this Run Wild Missoula that supports runners and the Runner's Edge. But I do want everybody to think about every time, I guess to start out, when you walk out the door to go running, what are the things you think about? Everybody think about hydration. You're a marathon. Hydration?
When we're finished.
Yes. What it's going to feel to be done. Nutrition, if you're running a really long run.
The right clothing.
Right clothing. How many think about their personal safety? Excellent. Good. I'll never meet you people. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. And there's, like I said, we can show you a few things. Jim and I we're not a black belt in karate. Frankly, we're getting a little old. But we're going to talk to you. I want to show a few things. They're just, you don't have to have a black belt. You don't have to be trained in self-defense. You just have to think about it. And the biggest thing is you have to practice. It's Jim and I both, we both train every year, several times a year on how to shoot our guns. We have to be proficient with these. We do some training on ground fighting. We do training on how to do a DUI all the time because that's how you become proficient in anything. You don't just decide, I'm going to run the marathon tomorrow. You train. And that's what we want to send you guys away with is a few things you can think about and you can train at home on a willing partner. And, and that might just give you that extra confidence when you go out for a run.
I want to talk about pepper spray. It's good to train, it's good to think about some physical ways to defend yourself, but realistically, a small woman against a large guy, you're going to have to be so proficient and lucky to get away. Whereas if you have some pepper spray, it's a very, very, very effective tool for someone of any size to use. So that's going to be what I suggest.
And I agree with Jim too. If you do have, I mean, typically your attacker has size and surprise on you. They've thought this out, and that's the one thing when we talk about any type of safety is planning, 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 planning. And because if you're not your attacker, the attackers are. I just don't think there's that many spontaneous attacks in Missoula where someone's walking along thinking, I'm going to grab her. Although that might have been the Higgins Street Bridge case this weekend. I truly believe, I mean, that was an odd case. And so, but typically they're planning for it. And so you need to plan too. One of the things that I think is important is how many people just go out and just go running for the heck of it. Don't plan a route, don't plan a distance, don't plan where they're going to end up. Very few people do that. You plan your route. Does everybody know your route? Do you send a text message to someone telling them where you're going to be? Do you leave a note for someone that will always know where they can think, oh wait, they're running up the rattlesnake tonight. If you're not back by your designated time, does someone know where to find you? Or even where to start looking? Because It's a small, it seems like a small town, but it's not when you're trying to do a grid search for a person. So that's, I mean, most people have sort of a certain amount of routes that they run. You have to really plan for rural versus right in the middle of town. How many people carry a cell phone? And a lot of times there's not going to be service. We talked about that where Jim runs a lot of times, there's no service. And I don't even think a cell phone is just for if you were being attacked. What if you broke your leg or fell and broke your ankle? Every second's going to seem like dog years while you're laying there if you don't have a phone waiting for someone to come and find you. And so I'm a huge fan. I carry mine. I just got a new phone and I carry it and an armband because I can listen to my music on it. I know they're cumbersome. I know people don't want extra things. I would run carrying nothing, wearing nothing if I could get away with it because I don't want any extra weight while I'm running. But if it's the difference between your life and a few extra ounces, figure out a way to take your cell phone with you if you know you're going to have service. One of the things, earphones, earbuds. I run with them, I hike with them, and I think they're one of the biggest safety issues. And I see that that's on that safety, the 10 rules, don't run with them. I mean, I run with them all the time. I'm going to show you guys a product. I just bought these. We can't, Jim and I are here to pitch any product in particular, brand name. We can't do that because police department frowns on it. But, so this is what I bought. I'm going to show these. These are called Ear Hero. Has anybody heard of these? They are a tiny, tiny little headphone that comes with this cute little case. And they fit in your ear. That's the whole earbud right there. And they allow you to hear all the outside noise around you. So they're pretty neat. And I've run with them a few times. I've hiked with them. Typically what I would do is run with one earbud in and one tucked in my shirt. These are awesome. And so like I said, I can't pitch any product in particular, but I'm sure there's other ones out there. I have some cards for the ear because they send them to you. I put them on the table. Get online and look. These are so nice to run with. I can hear conversations while I'm running, and I can still hear my music, and I can hear cars coming behind me. I can hear footsteps coming behind me. So unless someone's coming up behind you doing this, and then they're not going to catch you. These are really, something like this is a really nice idea.
One thing too that we didn't announce at the beginning, we've never done this before, we've never given this presentation before. We're doing this all off the top of our head, so if you have any questions, don't wait till the end. If you have a question, raise your hand, ask us, because we probably are going to appreciate it.
Jim and I were talking a little bit too beforehand about, you know, the idea of what you can carry with you. Again, talking about a lot of people don't want to take on extra weight for weapons, and nobody wants to run with a weapon typically. You know, we're in law enforcement, and I have a way to carry a gun when I run, but I don't very often. Jim doesn't ever, he said. But one of the things to think about, little things, how many people carry a water bottle in their hand? That's a weapon. Right there. If someone comes up towards you and they're coming into your space and you're getting scared, that to the face is going to stun them. Squirting him in the face, it's not going to blind him. It's not going to kill him. Well, I don't know what you carry in your water bottles. But it's going to shock someone enough. All you need to be able to do is get away. You don't need to win. You don't need to kill him. You don't need to beat him up. You need to get away. And so something just as simple as your water bottle that a lot of us run with, even if it's just in your hydration pack or in your hand, the kind that go in your hand, are a perfect way to stun someone enough to give you a few extra seconds. If you can hit someone in the face with water or hit someone in the face, and I will tell you not to generalize and not to offend any of the men, but typically our attackers in Missoula have been men. We don't have very many women attacking runners out there. And so if you can get someone, stun them long enough to kick them in the groin, punch them in the neck. Anything you can do to give yourself that extra few seconds that you need to get away. Because while they have the element of surprise, you have adrenaline. And that's going to give you strength. And I totally agree with Jim. There's going to be a size differential in a lot of people that's going to put you at a detriment. But again, you've got adrenaline, and I think in every situation, use everything you've got to get out of it. I don't carry pepper spray because I've used it once in my career, and it went bad. Really bad. So I don't. I know that, you know, a lot of people do, especially for bears too. So I know you've run into some bears.
I carry it a lot. I carry it every time. I went down to the runner's edge and I got one of those, I can't remember the brand name, but it's a stretchy kind of belt that I can carry a water bottle on. It's got a little fanny pack in back, and then I just put a little holder on it for the pepper spray. I was in police canine for 8 years. And that's one of the things you wouldn't think of, but when you have a police dog, sometimes it attracts other dogs that want to come up and fight. So I have used pepper spray probably hundreds of times in my career, usually just giving a little short spritz to a dog that's coming up wanting to fight with the police dog when I'm in the middle of doing something. I've used it personally. I live out between Tura and Clinton, and when I run out there, there's sometimes some unfriendly dogs that want to come chase me, and I give them a little spritz with this. If nobody knows, a lot of people are familiar with it, some people aren't, but they call it pepper spray, or bear spray. The reason they call it pepper spray is because it's actually made out of food-grade peppers. It's a resin of them, so it's not a chemical that's going to permanently hurt anything. I've been sprayed with it numerous times at work, inadvertently and on purpose.
That's a rough place to work.
It makes your eyes slam shut. It makes big drools of snot hang out of your nose, but it doesn't hurt you permanently. And if you use it on somebody by mistake, it's not going to cause any permanent injury. That's one of the reasons I recommend it. If you could run with a gun, I guess if you want to do that and you are going to do that, you probably already know what kind of gun you have and how you're going to carry it. I carry one every day at work, and I don't want to carry one when I run. I don't want to deal with the hassle of the weight and trying to get to it, so I carry pepper spray. Like I said, I've used it on dogs when I'm running, and I almost had to use it on a bear last year, but I didn't have. I was running up to rattlesnake, and then I saw the same bear this year, kind of on a side note, but he didn't do anything, he was just there. But it's kind of comforting to have it and be able to pull it out if you need it. Which is another thing, if you're going to have it and it's zipped into the back in your fanny pack where you can't get at it, it's really not going to do you any good. If you're going to carry it, you need to have it somewhere accessible. I see the one that the Runner's Edge sells comes with a little hand thing like for the water bottles. And so that way if you need it, you have it. This is slightly larger than the kind they sell there, but it's the exact same brand, same ingredients, same thing. And if you're carrying that, it's handy for dogs, handy for bears, and if someone were to try something, it's worth its weight in gold as far as I'm concerned.
So it doesn't so much burn the skin, you have to aim towards the person's head.
It has to be in the person's face. It's the mucous membranes of the face, and it just causes burning and watering. If I were to spray you with this now, it doesn't incapacitate you. You're not going to fall over and faint. What it is it's very, very serious burning in your eyes, and I've never seen somebody yet that sprayed with it that was still willing to chase you somewhere.
Another showstopper.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say too, and this is a personal thing I learned at work, is the way they come, and I'm assuming those cans come, they have plastic tabs across the top of them. Cut them before you take them with you, because they're not that easy when you're trying to, and I use it, I mean, so thinking you'd have adrenaline, I was out one night working on patrol and came on a fight, tried to get the people to stop fighting, they wouldn't. Pulled out my pepper spray and couldn't push the button. No! 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 And then they stopped, thank God. And I remember giving my tour and saying, mine's broke. And he's like, shh, no it's not, here you go. So cut the tab, it is very difficult. It is hard to press the button. It doesn't just go, it's not a hair trigger. And I also recommend, if you have it, go out somewhere, don't get downwind from it, and not by your neighbor's house or in your backyard. Go somewhere where it's open and try spraying it. And see, it comes out in a fog. It's more of a, there's a foam, but the foam really you do have to hit them directly. It's got to be a better shot. But this is a fog, almost just a mist. And so even if you can get someone to kind of run into it, it's going to affect them, not to the same extent as if you got a dead, just right in their face. But no, also, it will incapacitate you.
Yeah, if you spray it on yourself, which it's hard to do, but if you're in the wind, it can blow back on you. But that's not going to be serious. It's not going to incapacitate you. But like she said, I was going to say, test it before you use it. There's enough, even in that little bit smaller size there. I don't know about the little one, but the can that's like this. There's in that size several blasts of that stuff. So test it once. It's worth the money to test it once and see how it works.
One of the other things, and this is something that not everybody can do, and we were talking. I heard that when I heard about this talk on the radio this morning. They were talking about in light of the situation with Sherry Arnold, and Jim and I talked about that a little bit, and that's one of the most, I think it's one of the most tragic things that's happened in a long time in our state, or a very tragic thing. I don't know that there's a whole lot she could have done, unless it was running with somebody. We talked about maybe pepper spray would have given her, but they were so, it appears that the two people that attacked her were so high that is that one time that sometimes pepper spray doesn't totally affect someone, is depending on what kind of chemicals they have in their system. And it sounds like those guys had some pretty serious things going on. Running in pairs if you can do it. And I know a lot of you guys do run in groups because of Run Wild Missoula, and I think that is probably one of the best things that Run Wild Missoula does, is offer groups of people to run with and get you involved with people that are of your same running pace and style. It's not feasible. I don't run with anybody very often, but I think if you can run with another person, it's just, if there's safety in numbers. And I really encourage you, if you have the opportunity, if you're running down the middle of town in midday, the chances of you're going to be attacked are pretty slim. But if you're running out on Kim Williams Trail at dusk, and a lot of people do, and again, we don't want to make you hyper paranoid, but I will tell you guys, I don't run down Kim Williams Trail because I know we roust out of those bushes some days. And it's and typically there are people that don't mean anybody harm, but there have been situations. We had one in Missoula. We had a gentleman who had actually killed a gal in Spokane and fled here and was hiding out on Kim Williams Trail when we arrested him. And so it's the unknown, that you don't know who's down in those bushes. It's a great running trail. I have nothing against, but if you're going to do it, that's where you do take a partner. I know there's people that advocate running with dogs. I know that's one of the rules, don't run with dogs. I think that's if you're in a group. I think if you have a dog that's good to run with, I have a dog I take with me quite a bit. He looks sort of pit bullish. He's not. He's really, really nice. But he looks, people won't approach me when I have him. It's not a surefire thing, but if you have an animal that's your dog you can run with, take him with you. I still think it keeps people from coming up to you if they don't know. We did have one gal attacked here in Missoula with a dog, but it was a lab, and they're so friendly.
Is it just, if someone's just sitting and waiting for a random person, and they're not targeting you specifically, there seem to be options. So this person who's sitting in a bush sees you with a dog, knows that 10 minutes from now there's going to be another runner coming by without the dog. So even if your dog's the most, friendly thing in the universe, the person's going to say, well, there's another option coming that won't have a dog, and so you just, by the nature of having a dog, would look.
It's a deterrent.
Yeah.
Well, how many people run, and I do, with my head down, I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other and live till the end. I think running with, and this is true anywhere, walking, running, downtown, anywhere, we just did some safety talks on campus. If you are walking with your head up and your shoulders back and you have confidence, and someone's walking towards you that you're not sure about, they might make you feel, and I am a huge advocate of trusting your gut, and I think we will, think, oh gosh, that person makes me nervous. Oh no, they're probably fine. I don't know. I should, and we sort of shoot that down. And I think trust your gut. If something doesn't look right, it's not. And if you see someone coming towards you and you're on a residential street or you're downtown and you think, I don't like how that person looks or how they're looking at me, and you cross the street and they're not a bad person and you hurt their feelers, oh well. You'll probably never run into them again. But if it makes you feel safer, don't walk by someone that makes you uncomfortable just to not make a scene or not to hurt their feelings. But walk with your head up, walk with your shoulders straight, and look at them. Because if you're looking at them, they know you've seen them. They know you can describe them. And it's the same thing when you're running. If someone's coming at you, look at them. Like I said, I'm bad about it because I keep my head down a lot. But if you can't, look up and know your surroundings. If you run in the same residential neighborhoods all the time, do you know whose house, do you know who works and gets off at 5 o'clock and they're home every night? Which house has lights on? Which one never has lights on? Which one you wouldn't approach even if they did have lights on? I tend to run the same routes all the time. So I know who's home. I know where I can go. I try to plan escape routes. And it's not to be paranoid, it's to be safe. Like I said, you guys, we're so, so lucky that we live here and that we have the kind of safety we have. And I like to think it's because of the police department. I think that we do have a great community, but I just think this is something you should think about not just when you're running. If you're going out with friends, if you're going to walk across the campus. Like I said, we did this whole thing on walking across the campus for these young people because we were having incidents on the campus. If you're walking across the campus, do you know what buildings are open at 9 o'clock at night? Because there are some. that are open at 9 o'clock at night? Do you know where the emergency phones are? Do you know what businesses downtown stay open late? The bars. Stay open really late. Jim, do you have anything?
It's kind of disjointed. It's not following the same path. Go ahead.
How long does pepper spray last? If you bought something this today, when should you kind of buy another one?
When should you use it by?
It doesn't really have an expiration on it usually. If it's somewhere where it's not freezing and test it, you'll know if it's spraying or if it's not spraying. As long as it's spraying and still works, it'll still be effective. And yes?
I was under the impression that a pepper spray of that size wasn't big enough for here. Is that not right?
Well, the bigger it is, the more of it you're going to have. And if I was going to spray a grizzly, I would want a higher rate. So it just depends on what you're willing to carry. So, this is what I have and this is what I'm willing to carry when I run, so this is what I'll use. Something like this would probably spray for, if you held it down, I've never timed it, but I'm going to say probably 10-15 seconds. Total. So if you're using it in like 2 or 3 second bursts, there's several uses in here.
I grew up in Alaska, so I'm
Yes.
really familiar with running with bears, but what's kind of foreign to me is mountain lions. So, and I live out in Superior and tend to run on the roads that, you know, are kind of rural. So, does pepper spray work on mountain lions?
Yes. Yeah, it'll work good on them too because of the...
They track you. They're different.
Mountain lions are a different breed.
They're a
Yeah.
different.
You might get got, I hate to tell you. I mean, they're just harder to, you can't outrun them. I mean, they are just a harder creature to, you don't see them coming at you.
You don't want to buy pepper spray, you want to buy bear spray.
It's the same thing.
No, it's, okay.
Well, it's called oleoresin capsicum. We're not talking about mace, which is a chemical thing,
Oh, okay.
but about pepper spray. So you can call it bear spray or pepper spray,
Oh.
but it's the same ingredients.
My bad, I was like thinking pepper spray and mace were the same thing.
No, it's the same thing.
know,
And I guess
it's
while we're
something.
on the subject, you know, legally, some people have asked me, what is the legal ramifications of using this? And legally, it's the same as pushing someone or hitting someone. So if someone is threatening you and in your space and you spray them in the face with this, it's no different than if you shoved him back hard or hit him in the face. It's the same legal ramifications of both.
And if you're in defense of your safety or someone else's safety, it's not. That's I don't want people to get hung up on. Well, I don't. Well, will I get would I get charged? What do you think happened? We have a self-defense law in the books in Montana, and if you're acting in defense of yourself or someone else, you're covered under that. And so don't think about, well, I don't want to get in trouble if I spray someone. You're not going to. In any situation, it's whatever force is reasonable and necessary to remove the threat. And if it's someone that's very small and they're up against someone very big or just someone very much a lot stronger, that's going to be reasonable and necessary to remove the threat.
And while we're on the use of it too, if anybody decides to carry it and ever does have to use it, don't warn somebody unless, you have somebody with you and you have a bunch of people with you and you want to warn them, go away, or I'll spray you, fine. But if you feel that you're threatened and you're being attacked, carry this wherever you can use it and spray them in the face with it. Because like I said, it's not going to cause them any permanent harm. You're not going to be in any legal trouble for doing it. So if you warn them and give them a chance to turn their head around, cover their eyes up, you're defeating the purpose of having it.
So then would it still work if they're wearing glasses?
Pardon me?
Would it still work if they're wearing glasses?
Yes, it'll still work wearing glasses. It doesn't have to spray directly on the eyes. Enough will get in there that it'll still work.
It is brutal. And then if you do get accidentally sprayed too, if you get some, it's just flushing your face, flushing and flushing and flushing and flushing. It takes a lot of water to get it out of your system and off your face. And then being very, very careful about washing your hands really good. Don't go jump in the shower because it all runs down. And so be very careful. So, we literally have to take hoses and just put people face down and with a hose in your face trying to wash it off. So just should you get, it's pretty nasty and it does really affect, it really affected me. And I think it's affected, I've not seen very many people that it hasn't affected. So use just cold water. You want cold, trust me. And flush everything out really good, just in case you do get. And if you have kids, put it up, because we've gotten, people have had kids spray it in their house. It's not going to kill anybody. I mean, that's the nice thing, but it'll contaminate your house. And we've had to spray it in the police department, and you have to open up all the doors and call the fire department with the big industrial fans. And so if you have, I mean, it's like anything else, any other weapon or anything your kids could get a hold of you and want to, keep that up. Don't put it somewhere where they can get a hold of it. I know, we said we're not really self-defense experts at all, but because I'm a female and I'm a runner, and because I'm a police officer, I think about any type of physical confrontation, because I don't have the same strength that men have, I never will. And so there's a couple things that, and these are the things that, I practice these. I practice them at home because, again, it has to become instinctual. One of the biggest things you can do, one of the strongest areas of it, is your elbow. Use your elbows. Don't punch someone, you're going to break your hand. But one of the things that I was telling Jim, if someone grabs you right here, there. But I practice that. Bless my husband's heart. I practice that. So, I mean, it's the same either hand. I mean, if he grabs this hand right here. If someone comes and clotheslines you when you're running, you're going to go down. Most likely their weight is going to take you down. What do you have at your disposal? Your legs. Kick, kick, kick. Kick as hard as you can. And you at that point are at the advantage, because where are you aiming? You know, so kick as hard as you can. If someone comes up behind you and grabs you around the neck, you can either, well, you can headbutt them, which is always good. I always do that. If you just even shove your butt back as hard as you can, you're going to hit them usually in the groin area, or you can throw an elbow right there. But the minute you can get them to kind of let loose, come around with an elbow. I mean, your elbows are your best strike points, because they are just, well, they're hard. They're going to hurt. You don't need to hit someone. You don't need to, I mean, if you poke someone in the eyes, that's awesome. But you don't need to.
One thing to think of too is, you know, what she's saying, a lot of it is up here. If you have the attitude that if somebody grabs me, I am going to fight like that mountain lion that you're talking about. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get away. I'm going to scream, I'm going to punch, I'm going to gouge, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. That's half the battle right there.
And it is. It's nothing, like I said, this is nothing that I went to. We do go at ground fighting school when we go through the academy, but for both of us, that was many, many years ago. And we haven't done a whole lot since, because they're trying to get us away from fighting with people because of injuries. But these are things that I think about, and things that like I said, I don't, I think about it when I go running. I think about if someone came up behind me. I think about if someone just grabbed my arm. And I God, hope no one I know ever does it, because I'll probably drop them. If someone I know comes up and does the, hey, oh, hi. But it's that instinctive to me that I would throw an elbow no matter what. And so, like I said, this doesn't take anything. This is everybody has an elbow. Use them if you need to. The areas that are going to be the most vulnerable on anybody are, for men, obviously, your groin. Your neck is very, very sensitive. If you just push a little bit right there, it hurts. It bothers me. It hurts. It doesn't take much pressure to stop someone. Or the face, the nose, anything like that. Noses are huge. I mean, if you can get someone those, because anytime you get bumped in the nose, your eyes start to water, and it's going to blur your vision. It's going to slow you down. And again, you don't have to. We don't encourage you to kill them. We want you to just stop the threat. Do what you have to do to stop the threat.
Yeah, so far, you're talking about one person. What if there's a gang or weapons? I mean, you're talking about someone just grabbing you. But
it's going to be a whole different ballgame. That's where having the pepper spray would be a big help. And again, running with someone else, because I think that, again, even though they may have 3 or 4 people, they're probably not going to try to take 2 people down. I think pepper spray and having more than one person to run with would be good. There's certain situations that you're always at a disadvantage when someone comes up and surprises you and attacks you. In that situation, I really think my thing would be the pepper spray is going to be your best deterrent at that point.
Yeah.
So when you say if you're out in the open and you're feeling comfortable, look for an open building. You mean one with lots of people in it?
Yeah, open empty ones don't help. But I mean, even getting away, getting out there, they don't know it's an empty building. Yeah, if you can find an open building or you find one other person, yeah, try to find someplace. the beauty of living around here is you get to run out in the Rattlesnake where there's not a lot of people and there's not a lot of houses. I'm sort of an opportunity runner. I run when I can. So if I can get home and I think, okay, I can run for a couple miles just before I have to do something else, I try to get into neighborhoods or just go running in my neighborhood. And so I know, and like I said, downtown there's always a business we have more bars on the small space than I think any city in the state. And so, I mean, there's always going to be a place open. You know, out south, if you're running out south, like I said, just always look for places and for people.
Can you talk a little bit about, I'm relatively new to Missoula, what the pattern of crimes has been? I mean, more of, it typically is one person, or it typically is on the Kim Williams Trail. I mean, are there specific times of day or places that generally, like a runner by themselves, should avoid?
I tried to get some statistics on crimes on the trail system in Missoula, and the way that we keep track of it, it's hard to pull up. So anything that we talk about is, I guess, going to be just stuff that we remember. I can remember, I think, one incident in the entire 20-some years I've been on the police department where someone was attacked during the middle of the day with other people around on the trail. One time.
I know that we've had two, in the last 3 years, we had two gals right in a row attacked, or grabbed in, not attacked, because they were just grabbing the person let go, in Greeno. And it was kind of broad daylight, it wasn't a pattern, and then it just stopped. And we did extra patrols, they had me out there in running clothes and as a decoy. I mean, part of the issue is I clearly wasn't appealing to that person. But that's one that I know of. We've had a couple people down by the river, you know, and I would say avoid if you can. Some of those places are really highly populated by some of the homeless people that drink a lot and that aren't necessarily, I mean, it's not a statement on all of our transient population, but some of those areas, in Kim Williams, there's a ton of people that camp down there. A lot of people camp down by the river trail, kind of, and, you know, as much as we try to keep them moving along, they come back. It's a nice area for them too. So those would be the areas, but we don't have a lot of.
So it's kind of the basic dark places without a lot of people.
Right. I mean, the times that I would think about it are, you know, later at night, out like you said, the Kim Williams Trail. Doubt if very many people do, but I would, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning, bar closing time, for several reasons. I wouldn't want the drunk to run over me, and then there's, you know, alcohol reduces people's inhibitions to do something if they're going to do it.
I think sometimes too, like I think people like to maybe be running solitarily, but I think sometimes when you go to a place like McClay's Flat or, I don't know, and you go to the parking lot and there's nobody there, maybe you don't want to be the only person running. I mean, I think sometimes I'm thoughtful of that I don't want to go walking or hiking with a bunch of people, but I also maybe don't want to be the only one there.
Well, I'm always really cognizant of my car getting broken into. That's one of the things at those little parking areas where there's not like you know, where it's isolated. We do have, and a lot of those are in the county, but there's a lot of break-ins to vehicles out there, so that's another thing about just your stuff, your safety. Don't leave things in view when you go running out on one of those trails, like you said, out on McClay. Don't leave your laptop on the seat of your car, or at least if you do leave the door unlocked so they don't break your window, because they will. I mean, you just be really sensible. I lock everything in my glove compartment, not that if someone gets in they're going to rip that open too, but don't leave things out. Don't make your vehicle tempting, but they are really isolated. It's like you said, you're isolated and so is your car. So I'm really mindful of that when I pull into a place and there's nobody else there. Do I want to be the only car out here?
And a lot of it too is like Jamie said earlier, trust your instinct. I mean, if you're getting a bad feeling from some group of people at a parking area, or you know, you're getting that for a reason. And you know, if you're like me, you run to enjoy yourself. You don't want to have to deal with something like that. So maybe find a different spot, or trust your instinct to tell you what to do. And don't be afraid of offending somebody, like she said. You don't have to be polite to anybody that's trying to attack you. So that's what I was talking about don't warn them. If you're going to spray them with pepper spray. If somebody's attacking you and you're going to spray them in the face with spray, don't worry about being nice and warning them first. Just do it.
I think the good thing is carrying is a whistle. I have a little whistle that clips onto my running top, and it can serve as a deterrent if someone starts coming towards you. People don't want to, that they're attacking you, don't want to call attention to you.
Right.
If there's other people around, it's a good way to warn them. So
I think
carry that with me.
I think that's a really good idea, because I think most people out in, like, if you're out in public and someone's running, blowing on a whistle, you know that means something's wrong. That's sort of that's not something you see a lot. And so I think that's a great idea to carry something like that, and they're light. So I think, something like that you can pin on to carry with you. I know we have bear bells for our dogs, and we go out in sort of rural areas, put the bear bells on just so that they're not really loud. I mean, they're not going to do a lot, but there's something. There's some kind of noise when you're out to try to help keep bears away. I've only seen one bear. I was hiking, and I got so flustered. All I could think of was I should take a picture. So if it eats me, my family will know. And then as soon as I pulled my phone out, it ran. So it was more. It is true they're more scared of us. There, that one was. So I've not run into any while I was running. Just when I was hiking up on Mount Jumbo. But there's a lot of them, and they will walk out in front of you on the trail. And again, that goes with keeping your head up. So you see them before you don't look up and you're right on top of them, because that's when you're going to be probably the threat is going to be the worst for you. One of the things, the running at night, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, when I run, yes, on the trail you're more isolated, but running downtown I run defensively because, yes, I run against traffic on the sidewalk, but there's cars coming out, and with late night or early mornings, you don't know if somebody sees you, if they're fiddling with their cell phone, if they're intoxicated, so you have to be aware when you're running in town.
Oh yeah, like someone pulling out a parking lot. And
yep.
I see all the neon stuff over there. Yeah, I hope everybody, when you're out and there's a chance that you're not going to be visible, that you put something on that flashes or is just that color. I saw a gal running this morning. I was going into work and it was dark still, and I saw a little gal running, and she was wearing, in this fairly dark neighborhood where I was going through, black shorts and a dark maroon shirt. Well, you couldn't see her at all. And she was on the sidewalk, but then there's construction right there. It was right on Spruce, I think, and there's construction, and so she had to come off the sidewalk to go around it. And that's a narrow area anyway, and just not being able to see her, and I just, you don't want to stop and yell at her because that's mean, but it made me think, no one can see her, and we do have, I mean, what Jim's point about getting hit by a drunk, just getting hit. We do have that happen in Missoula, and it has been, a lot of times it's been people that are drinking, and it's not necessarily people that are just running. We've had a lot of incidents of people who have been walking along the road relatively safely, not doing anything wrong, and got picked off by a car. So the more visible you are, the better. And then also, if something happens to you and people are looking for you, it's easier for them to find you if you're wearing bright orange or bright yellow, or than if you're wearing black and laying in a ditch. So wear bright colors.
So for a while there, you were handing out headlights to the people on the bicycles who didn't have, is there such a thing as like just a spool of this reflective tape that you can just cut off a piece and just hand to people and say, look, you're going to get hit?
That's a good idea, though.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Well,
it's on sale right after Halloween. They sell it in spools for little kids to put on their costumes.
Okay.
Yeah, anything like that. All that stuff over there is great. I have a couple of the bands, and I even put one on my dog. I have a little vest for him because he's black, and so he blends at night, and so he has a little reflective vest too. And like I said, I think being visible. I also think that if you're wearing lights and you got the bells and whistles, and that detracts people too, because you stand out in a crowd. They're not going to want to jump you if you're, I just think the more you stand out, the more you make yourself visible. I think that's a good defensive strategy.
Yeah, I just take those little alligator lights off my bike in the winter and put them on the back of my vest so I can blink as I get down the street.
So what do you think about, like, out-weirding a weirdo? Like, if you're running down the road. No, I mean, it sounds funny, but, like, that's, like, what I try and do. It's, like, if somebody looks weird, I kind of make weird faces at them, or, like, I'll point at a car if I don't think they see me. Just, I mean, you look like you're insane, but... Sing at the top of your lungs.
Yeah.
How crazy do you look running down the street singing at the top of your lungs? It's true. I mean, how many times do you see that? That you don't think, wow, look at that, I think anything that's going to make you look, like I said, it's out-weirding them. And I do think making eye contact, that they see you, and kind of giving them that look that, I'm not the person you want to mess with tonight. And I think, like I said, I think anything you can do to draw attention to yourself, and even if it does make you look a little bit crazy, even for a person, if a person's messing with you and bothering you, like on the city street, start singing. Is that the topic? I mean, it sounds silly, but again, these are all things, nobody has to have these special skills. You don't even know how to have to sing. Just sing, really, draw attention. Someone will call the police. Anybody else have any other questions for us? Go ahead.
I have a question about the cell phone. Everyone probably knows this answer, but I don't. I carry my cell all the time because I run up in the hills and in the mountains. And most of the places I run, there is some kind of restriction. And I carry it because I want to have like a break a leg,
right,
or call my husband, or whatever. But say I fell and I hit my head and I was unconscious. Could search and rescue track me if my cell phone is on?
Does it have GPS? Most phones now have GPS. We can look, I can show you. So what you need to do on your phone is you look under, I think it's under settings, and under location. I have to look at my phone, but if you turn that on, then they can track you, that'll enable the GPS in your phone, so they could track you that way.
Okay, but the GPS has to be on.
Yeah, and like a lot of people shut them off because they are all worried about stalkers, so they shut their GPS off, which is good if you have a stalker, but if you're running, I think it's a good idea to have them on. And I think too, with your cell phones, you guys, we can't track them as easy as we used to. We have the landline. If someone called 911 and hung up on them, we could track that phone. They'd send officers because we could track that address. We can't do that as easy with cell phones. So if you have your phone and you can make that 911 call and something's happening to you, yell out your location. That's it. That's the most important thing we're going to need. I'm on the Kim Williams Trail, and just give a location because we can't track you as easily as we. Well, I mean, people weren't running and getting attacked in their homes, but I mean, I'm just saying that we don't have the ability to track a cell phone like we could. You can do like GPS we can do, and Verizon has an emergency thing, but it still takes time. If we have to send, you have to get the number, send a fax, wait for someone to call you. It's not a really quick system. So yell your location. That's the biggest thing we're going to need. We'll figure out when we get there what's going on. Get your location out there to 911 so they know where to start sending people. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, everybody. Also, I don't think I mentioned this in the beginning, but Vicky's going to come up and talk about some of the safety products that they sell at the Runner's Edge.
Do you mind if I just stay right here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to show you a couple of the different things that we talked about. We do have two different types of pepper spray that we carry at the Runner's Edge. One is called the Jogger Fogger. So it is meant to be the cloud that you send out. It is, you don't have to aim quite as closely as you would with a smaller one like this. This is a stream, so you have to aim for someone's face or the animal's face. This one will send out a fog or a cloud. You don't have to be as accurate. It does have a little Velcro elastic band you can put around your hand, but as Jim said, you could also put it around any sort of belt, if you wear a hydration belt, that kind of thing. The other one's a little bit smaller if somebody wants to carry it in a purse or a pocket. We talked about being visible, and that, I think that more people are probably in danger of being hurt by vehicles in this town than other people or animals. There's great products like these that turn on, they flash, they work well for around your pant legs if you're a bicyclist, they work around your arms. They don't show up very bright here, but when it's dark, you can really see these from a long ways away. And I like that there's something flashing too. It's not just reflective, so it catches someone's attention a little bit sooner. There are reflective vests that look kind of like crossing guard vests, unfortunately, or fortunately. They're highly reflective. They give you a big Y or V right on the front and the back of your body, around your waist. This one's still all tied up. It has a pocket here in the front so you can put your cell phone in there, or your pepper spray if you like. Another one has got the same thing but flashing lights on front and back. So this is kind of dual purpose, fancy thing. No pocket on this one because
the pocket space is taken up by the little lights. These are all run by little teeny watch batteries. They're very easily accessible in there, so you can change them, so it's not a one-time only type of thing. Any time of year, this is a great thing. Headlamps also make you see, and most headlamps have different settings. So they have steady lights, and they also have blinking lights, so they work well if you're a bicyclist or a runner. Then I know you talked about your headphones. I have a pair. We don't sell them at the store, unfortunately. You can get them online or at REI. They're called Air Drives. And what I like about this one is the same type of thing. It cancels, it doesn't cancel out all the noise around you. This one doesn't even fit in your ear. It sits right in front. So you do a little thing around your ear here, just a little wire, sits right here. You can hear everything around you and still hear your music. There's actually a little volume controller right here too. So just a little quickie overview. There's a lot of clothing anymore that's very reflective. Winter clothing seems to have more reflective things on it for runners than the summertime clothes, but any bright colors. I used to think people running in the big flashy bright colors were kind of now I wear a fluorescent orange shirt all the time. And people will comment on, oh, geez, you really want to be seen. It's like, yes, I do. Thank you.
I just figure it's a way for Lifeline to find you too if you're hiding.
That's what my husband said.
Bright colors, Lifeline can find you.
They'll say, oh, there she is, right down there. So all of those things are really important. And summertime's fun to wear bright clothes too. So dress up like an Easter egg. I mean, it's the best time to do it. And, you know, people may think that you're crazy, but I think it's true that the more you stand out, the less likely you are to be hurt by cars, people, anything. So we are going to give away a few of these products tonight too. Like I said, we do carry them at the store. If you're a Run Wild Missoula member, you know you get discounts at the store on all these products. And if there are other things that you are have found that we do not carry, please let us know. We're always open for suggestions. What do we still need to carry? What do people need to be safe and enjoy their run also? So.
I know that Vicki and I will be around for a little while if you have any questions. Can you stick around? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. And be sure to eat up all the